Hi everyone, myself Prezi. Welcome to my channel Commerce Class. This video is the second part of ratio analysis, which contains different types of activity ratios. Activity ratios. Activity ratios measure the efficiency of the firm, which shows how effectively a firm manages its resources. It also indicates the speed with which assets are converted or turned over into sales. That's why this ratio is also known as turnover ratio. The current ratio, acid test ratio, give misleading result if there is high debtor and slow moving inventories. These ratios ignore the movement of current asset. This is one of the drawback of liquidity ratios. Activity ratio is used to overcome this difficulty, and activity ratio shows the movement of current asset. That means number of times it is converted into sales or cash. Different activity ratios are inventory turnover ratio, debtors turnover ratio, creditors turnover ratio, and working capital turnover ratio. Inventory turnover ratio. Every firm has to maintain certain level of inventory to meet the requirements of the business. But the level of inventory should neither be too high nor too low. Both overstocking and understocking are harmful to the firm. Usually, firms try to dispose of its inventory as early as possible. At the same time, they should keep sufficient stock in business. Here, inventory turnover ratio is calculated to find out whether the inventory has been efficiently used or not. So, inventory turnover ratio means number of times the stocks have been turned over. And the purpose of inventory turnover ratio is to see whether the required minimum fund have been locked up in inventories. So this ratio evaluates the efficiency of these resources. The formula for calculating inventory turnover ratio is cost of goods sold divided by average inventory. Average inventory is equal to opening stock plus closing stock divided by 2. High inventory turnover ratio is good to the firm, which indicates efficient management of inventory. Here, stocks are frequently sold and firm can realize cash from inventory. So, less amount of money is needed to finance inventory. But low inventory turnover ratio is not favorable to the firm. Stock accumulation, slow moving of inventory, then inefficient management of inventory are the results of low inventory turnover ratio. Suppose inventory turnover ratio of a firm is very high. Is it good to the firm? No, it is not good to that firm. High turnover ratio means very low level of inventory is maintained in the organization, which results shortage of goods. And firm can't earn higher profit due to excess cost. Debtors turnover ratio. Firms sell their goods on cash and credit basis. Most of the customer prefer credit sales and they expect liberal credit policy. A firm who sells goods on credit basis will attract customers and that boost the sales. Liberal credit policy also plays an important role in boosting sales. But liberal credit policy is not always good to a firm. because a huge amount is blocked in the form of trade debtors. Trade debtors must be converted into cash within a short period of time. Otherwise, a firm can't pay off its current obligation in time and firm won't get fund for its operation. If trade debtors are easily converted into cash within short period of time, we can say that these debtors are highly liquid and these are efficiently managed. So usually firm uses debtors turnover ratio to manage its trade debtors. So debtors turnover ratio used to evaluate the quality of trade debtors, and this ratio indicates number of times average debtors are turned over during a year. Suppose debtors turnover ratio is 7, so here 7 times debtors are turned over during a year, or 7 times debtors are converted into cash and firm earns money from the trade debtors. So here we can say that trade debtor is highly liquid. Usually high debtors turnover ratio is good to the firm, and usually firm prefer high debtors turnover ratio. High debtors turnover ratio shows the debtors are efficiently managed and debtors are highly liquid. But low ratio is not good to the firm, which results inefficiency of management. But a very high ratio is also not good to the firm, and ratio must be neither too high nor low. Then formula for calculating debtors turnover ratio is net credit sales divided by average trade debtors. Average trade debtors is equal to opening trade debtors plus closing trade debtors divided by 2. Here trade debtors is equal to sundry debtors plus bills receivable. Average collection period. Average collection period measures quality of debtors. Average collection period means average number of days for which a firm has to wait before its receivables are converted into cash. I will explain it with the help of an example. Average collection period of firm A is 60 days, firm B is 30 days. So 60 days debtors are there in the firm. After 60 days, these debtors are converted into cash and firm realized cash from sundry debtors. Then firm B, 30 days sundry debtors or trade debtors are there in firm, and after 30 days, these debtors are converted into cash. Shorter collection period is usually preferred by the firm. Shorter collection period means quick payment by the debtors. Within short period of time, these debtors are converted into cash. In that example, firm B's collection period is less than firm A, and we can say that firm B's debtor is highly liquid. Higher collection period adversely affect the liquidity position of the firm, and the chances of bad debts are also very high. If a firm's collection period is very short, so that firm definitely faces difficulty to get customers. Customer will prefer those firm who allow more credit period. Very short period means conservative credit policy. Usually, customers never select a firm or never buy product from a firm who follow this conservative credit policy. That will adversely affect the sales of that firm. Formula of collection period is number of working days divided by debtors turnover ratio. Creditors turnover ratio means number of times creditors are paid during a year. And this ratio measures credit worthiness of the firm. Suppose creditors turnover ratio is 4. So 4 times that firm meets its short-term obligations or current obligations. Here creditors and bills payable are short-term obligations or current liabilities, and this ratio measures how many times the firm meets its current obligations. High ratio is favorable to the firm. High ratio means a prompt payment to the suppliers, and low ratio indicates delayed payment. Suppliers usually prefer those firms whose creditors turnover ratio is high. To get credit benefit, a firm must make prompt payment. Formula is net credit purchases divided by average trade creditors. Average trade creditors is equal to opening trade creditors plus closing trade creditors divided by 2. Trade creditors means, or trade creditors is equal to creditors plus bills payable. Average payment period. Average payment period is also used to measure credit worthiness of the firm. Average payment period means average number of days taken by the firm to pay its creditors. Usually, lower period is preferred by the firm, which shows that the firm's liquidity position is good. And also firm will get discount facility if they make prompt payment. So usually lower period is preferred by the firm. Higher period indicates less liquidity. For example, payment period of firm A is 3 months and payment period of firm B is 4 months. Here, within 3 months, creditors are paid by firm A, and in the case of firm B, within 4 months, creditors are paid. Here, firm A's liquidity position is good. It takes only 3 months to make payments. Suppliers will prefer firm A because firm A's payment period is less than firm B, and they will prefer those firms who make prompt payment. Formula of average payment period. Average payment period is equal to number of working days divided by creditors turnover ratio. Working capital turnover ratio. Working capital is the excess of current asset over current liability. Working capital is equal to current asset minus current liability. This ratio indicates the velocity of net working capital. This ratio helps to study number of times working capital is turned over in a year. It measures efficient utilization of working capital. High working capital turnover ratio indicates efficient utilization of working capital, and low ratio indicates the inefficient utilization. Formula for calculating working capital turnover ratio is cost of sales divided by average working capital. Average working capital is equal to opening working capital plus closing working capital divided by 2. These are the activity ratios. Hope you all understood this video. Please subscribe my channel and share my videos. Thanks for watching my channel. Bye.